Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Total Body Strength. I've got a really nice workout plan for us. Today, we're going to be focusing on single arm and single leg movement. So that's going to help us kind of just balance everything out today. We're going to do upper and lower body, and then we'll finish out with some core work to kind of tie everything together. For equipment purposes, equipment wise, we do need at least one set of dumbbells. I do always recommend two, just like a heavier one and a lighter one if you do have two. If not, that is okay. I will only be using one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into it today. So we're gonna start off with some kickstand Romanian deadlifts. So for these, we're gonna be focusing on putting all of our weight into one foot. The other foot, we're going to be more on the toe. So I can just get up for this. So we're on the toe. The other foot is on the ground. So from this angle, my toe is in line with the arch of my working foot. It is directly under my hip. So we're not super far back here. We're in line. It's almost like we're about to do a normal one, but we're just on that toe. So right now I'm focusing on the right foot, pushing those hips back, keeping that core nice and tight, back and is nice and flat, and then push the ground away and stand back up. So again, push those hips back like we're closing that door, push the ground away and come back up. So we're gonna do all on one foot, and then we'll switch over to the other side, same thing. So lining up with the arch of the foot directly under that hip, and then pushing back, push the ground away, stand back up, and same deal there. So those are gonna be our first two movements. And then the next one, what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop the other dumbbell. We're gonna do one arm at a time. We're gonna do one arm rows. So for this, we're gonna still do a bent over row. So we're gonna be in the same position of the bottom of our Romanian deadlift. So pushing those hips back. Arm is gonna be straight out in front. For the other hand, you can either leave it out in front or off to the side. I feel like sometimes putting it off to the side will help us from rotating that upper body, because if we start to do that, then we're taking the movement away from our back. So we're here, both arms in front or off to the side, pulling that dumbbell towards the butt, driving the elbow like we have a plane of glass on our back. We're gonna break that glass with the elbow. It's coming out and back down. We're squeezing through the armpit, keeping that core nice and tight, sinking into those hips, so that way it takes the pressure off of the low back. So we're gonna do all on one arm and then onto the other arm. So either straight out to the side or in front, because again, we wanna avoid rotating that back. So that's gonna be our third and fourth movements. I can count, I promise. And then we're gonna go ahead and get onto the ground for the last two core movements here. So first thing we're gonna do are some glute bridge marches. So I love these, working on our glutes and hamstrings as well as the core. So keeping that core nice and tight, tuck that pelvis, push those hips up towards the ceiling, and then one knee at a time coming up, exhaling, using that core. We're alternating, we are marching. So this is also a single leg movement as well, so it's perfect. And then finally, we're gonna finish out with some dead bugs. We're gonna use those dumbbells. We're gonna add our core assist here. So we're gonna go out, extending out. We're gonna hold. So we're gonna pause at the bottom for 1 or 2 seconds, and then switching over to the other side, holding, press that belly button into the ground, exhale, come back up, making sure those knees are directly above those hips. And that is gonna be our full workout. So we're gonna do that 3 rounds through. We are going to work for 45 seconds and then rest/transition for that other 15 seconds. So that is the plan for everything. We're gonna go ahead and get ready with our warm-up, and we're gonna start in a half kneeling position here. So I'm gonna have one knee on the ground, one foot on the ground, and we're gonna do our hip flexor into that hamstring stretch. We're gonna do 3 on each side. So we're gonna start with the hip flexor here. So we're gonna tuck our pelvis, so butt to belly button, squeeze the glute of the knee that's on the ground, gently push those hips forward. So we're just starting to warm up. Do not have to be super deep into the stretch, just enough to get a nice tension in that front of the leg. Nice big deep breath. And we're exhaling, extending that front leg, toes to the ceiling. Chest is gonna go towards that knee. So we're opening up those hamstrings, getting ready for our Romanian deadlifts. Nice big deep breath. And we're exhaling, rocking back forward into that second hip flexor stretch. So tuck that pelvis, squeeze that glute, push those hips forward. So each time we do each one, I want us to get just a little bit deeper into the stretch as we warm up. Nice big deep breath. And exhale, toes to the ceiling, chest towards that knee. Nice big deep breath. And we're going to exhale into our last one. So same checklist, squeeze that glute, tuck the pelvis, push those hips forward. You can even add a little bit of an arm reach here to accentuate that stretch. Nice big deep breath. And exhaling, rocking back, toes to the ceiling, chest towards the knee. Getting a nice stretch to the back of the leg, nice big deep breath. And we're going to exhale and release out of that. Then we're going to go ahead and switch sides. So when we're ready, opposite knee on the ground, other foot. Same checklist though. Tuck the pelvis, squeeze that glute, push those hips forward, getting a nice stretch to the front of the hip. Nice big deep breath. And rocking back, toes to the ceiling, chest towards that knee. Nice big deep breath. And exhaling back to hip flexor. So squeeze that glute, tuck that pelvis, push those hips forward. Nice big deep belly breath. And we're going to exhale, rock back, toes to the ceiling, chest towards the knee. Great job. We're going to do one last breath here. And we got one more to go. So squeeze that glute, tuck that pelvis, push those hips forward. And you can even add that arm reach here, accentuating that stretch in the front of the hip. And we're going to go ahead and exhale, rock back into our last hamstring stretch. Getting a nice stretch through the back of the leg. And on our next exhale, we're going to go ahead and gently release out of that. And then we're going to go ahead and make our way to a standing position for the last part of our warm up here. We're going to do some rotations in a bent over position. So it's going to get our body warmed up for our bent over rows and RDLs, as well as some rotation opening up the back. So we're going to stand feet hip width apart, push those hips back, keep that core nice and tight. Hands starting in front of us. We're going to take a nice big deep breath. And we're going to exhale, bringing one arm towards the ceiling, gazing past the thumb. Straight line from one hand to the other, and then come back down, and then opening up towards the other side as we exhale and back down. So we're going to go ahead and do two more on each side. So opening up and back down and open up and back down, and one more on each side, opening up and back down, and last one, opening up and back down. Awesome. We are ready to rock and roll. So like I said, 45-15, 3 rounds, getting our dumbbells ready for our kickstand Romanian deadlifts. Getting started here in 3, 2, 1, and go. So we got both our dumbbells here, picking one foot. You can start with whichever foot you'd like. Opposite foot directly underneath the hip on the toe. Push those hips back, and then push the ground away, heel big toe, little toe. So I want us to really think push the ground away, and that's going to help us really focus on using our glutes and hamstrings versus the low back. So if we think of pulling up, we're going to use our back. So really focus on pushing the ground away, keeping all of our weight on our working leg, but we're not leaning towards that side. So I really like to focus on keeping those dumbbells going down the fronts of the leg, just as if we were using both legs. 3, 2, 1. All right. Going to do that same thing on the other side. So again, keeping those dumbbells going down the fronts of our legs. Oh, I started counting down way too soon. 3, 2, 1. So keep those shoulder blades like we got an orange squeeze in between our shoulder blades. Push that door closed, then push the ground away. Still keeping that core nice and tight. So butt to belly button, lock that in. Breathing through. And again, I like to make sure we're dragging those dumbbells all the way down the fronts of our legs. Because if we start to go over to the side, we're going to feel that pull in our low back. We do not want to feel that. We want to really use the glutes and the hamstrings of our working leg. So right now I'm using my left leg. I really want to feel that movement in my left leg. 3, 2, 1. All right, awesome job, y'all. Go ahead and drop one dumbbell. We got our one arm bent over rows coming up. Whichever arm you'd like to start with. 3, 2, 1. So bending over, pushing those hips back, core nice and tight. Drive that elbow up like we're breaking that plane of glass, and either keep that arm straight out in front or straight off to the side. We really want to squeeze through the armpits. We're going to feel that all the way on the back side of the armpits and our lat muscles here. Really focusing on keeping the weight in our glutes. Squeeze that armpit, pull the dumbbell towards the butt. This way. Great job. Again, making sure we're not rotating through the spine. Keep that core tight. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, we're going to do that same thing on the other side. My upper back is a little tight today. All right. We're getting ready here. 3, 2, 1. So zip that core up, push the hips back, pulling that dumbbell towards the butt, nice and controlled. Keep that shoulder. So it's actually very similar, like when we do curtsy lunges or something where I say we got headlights on our hips. This time our headlights are on our shoulders. We're blinding the ground, making sure that our headlights aren't moving. For me right now, making sure my headlights aren't moving towards the camera. So we don't want our headlights moving towards the arm we're using. We want them staying straight towards the ground. So this is actually a good anti-rotation movement, which makes our core nice and strong, in addition to our arms one at a time. 3, 2, 1. All right. Wonderful job, y'all. Gonna go ahead and get on the ground. We got glute bridge marches coming up next. Still got that single leg work coming in. 3, 2, 1. So keep that core tight, tuck that pelvis, push those hips up. One leg at a time. It does help if we exhale as we lift the leg up, making sure that we're not using our legs, we're using the core. We pull with our quads or our hips. We're going to feel pull in those hips and our hip flexors. We really want to feel more so as like we're zipping the core up and pulling with the core. So keeping that belly button pressed into the spine. Glutes are engaged. So my right knee is up. My left glute is squeezing. On the opposite side, left knee is up. Right glute is squeezing. And we're done. Sorry, I was talking. We didn't get a countdown that time. We got 10 seconds. We got dead bugs with our core assist. So grabbing those dumbbells. 3, 2, 1. So again, zipping that core up, pushing that belly button into the ground, knees above the hips, extend out, pause, exhale, back in, coming out, pause, exhale, pull back in. So keeping those quads nice and loose. We're not pulling with the hips here. We're only going down as far with our legs as we can without that low back coming off of the ground. Great job. Extending out, coming back up, pausing at the bottom for a second. 3, 2, 1. All right. And we are done with round 1. Standing on up, kickstand, Romanian deadlifts, whichever leg we want to start with. 3, 2, 1. So keeping that core tight, push those hips back, push the ground away. We want to make sure that as soon as our hips stop moving back, we come right back up. If we start to bring those dumbbells all the way towards the ground, we might, yes, get a stretch in the hamstring there, but our goal is to strengthen the hamstring. And if we go all the way down to the floor with those dumbbells, we run the risk of using our low back to come back up. So I find if our chest is below the hips, we start to pull with the back instead of pushing with those glutes. So that's why we stop once our hips stop moving back. 3, 2, 1. Great job. Taking a second, getting ready. We're gonna do the same thing on the other sides, getting our opposite foot planted in. 3, 2, 1. So pull those shoulder blades down and back. We're cracking that edge, squeezing the orange in between those shoulder blades. Coming down, push ground, and come back up. In terms of our breathing patterns here, really helpful to exhale as we stand back up. And as we get really good at this movement, what we can do is we don't stand fully all the way up. We still kind of have that tension in our glutes and hamstrings. And that's going to get us really engaging as many muscle fibers as we can, strengthening our glutes and hamstrings, which can help with low back pain. 3, 2, 1. All right. Drop one dumbbell. Bend over rows, one arm at a time. Getting ready here. 3, 2, 1. We got a lot of incidental core work going on today. Mine was definitely shaking during those dead bugs. If no one noticed, all good. If you noticed, yes, I was shaking. All right, squeezing the armpit, pulling the dumbbell towards the butt. So that ending position here, that elbow is up, straight back. So we're driving with the elbow, pulling. We should feel that squeeze through the back of the armpit into those lat muscles, keeping that core tight, pushing those hips back. 3, 2, 1. All right, we're getting ready for our other side. And then we've got our core work. Then we got one more round. Getting ready here. 3, 2, 1. So butt to belly button, keep that core tight, sinking into those hips, pushing those hips back, just like we're doing a Romanian deadlift. Again, we got our headlights on our shoulders. We're blinding the ground in front of us. Keeping that core nice and tight. Making sure we are engaging our muscles the whole time by moving slow. So we got the mind to muscle connection. We're pulling with our back here, not just momentum. If we move too fast, sometimes we do lose that connection here. 3, 2, 1. Awesome job, y'all. We're getting on the ground. We got glute bridge marches and then our dead bugs with our core assist. And then we got one more round. 3, 2, 1. So tuck that pelvis, keep that core tight, push those glutes towards the ceiling. One knee coming up at a time. Keeping that core nice and tight. Exhaling, pulling that knee up towards our body. When our left knee is coming towards us, right glute is squeezed. And on the opposite side, left glute is squeezed when the right knee comes up. Exhaling as we drive the knees, acting like we're zipping our core up. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to move my core tomorrow, y'all. It's gonna be interesting. All right, dead bugs, core assist. It's a little too soon to get those up there. 3, 2, 1. I think all of y'all know, because I think y'all have been taking my classes for long enough to know that I'm not a huge fan of core work. So this is the most core work I'm gonna get all week. So thank y'all for loving core work, but also I know it is good for me and all of us, again, to help strengthen the pillar to then make sure that we are using the core in all of our movements. When our pillar is strong, shoulders, hips, and torso, then we can better pull and better move from our extremities. Great job. Finishing strong. 3, 2, 1. Oh, my glasses were starting to fog up there. All right. Last round coming up, starting with our kickstand Romanian deadlifts. Picking a side, any side. 3, 2, 1. So keep that pelvis tucked. Our core is nice and tight. On one toe, opposite foot. Push that door closed. So it's like we got groceries in our hand. Pushing the door behind us closed. Exhaling as we come up. Making sure too that this actually is a really important thing that I haven't mentioned yet. We want to make sure we have a slight bend in those knees. Our knees and our legs should not be fully straight. We're on a slight bend, but we don't want to use our legs. It's going to become more of a squat versus a hip hinge. We're going to feel that more in the quads. Not what we want here. 3, 2, 1. So if we start to bend our knees as we come down, it's going to be more of a squat versus a hip hinge. So being mindful of that during this movement. Getting ready on the other side. 3, 2, 1. Push the hips back. Push the ground away. Keep a slight bend in both knees. Making sure those dumbbells are staying evenly distributed. Once we start kind of rotating over to one side, we run the risk of injuring our low back. So keeping everything nice and even. That is also why I do like to keep that opposite foot underneath the hip instead of out or out, because then our hips tend to get uneven. And that again aggravates the low back. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. We are done with those, y'all. Next up, we have our bent over rows, one arm at a time. 3, 2, 1. So core is tight. We're pushing that door closed behind us, squeezing through the armpit. Another helpful tip, especially with any sort of back movement, if we act like we're pulling through our ring finger and our pinky finger, we're holding on with the whole thing. But if we really focus on pulling with the back half of our hand, we're going to activate those muscles a little bit more. So we're just going to get a little bit more out of the movement when we pull with those fingers. And we want to act like we're pulling the dumbbell towards the butt. If we come up here and that dumbbell's more at the belly button or at the bottom of the ribs, we're going to start to pull with our traps instead of our lats. So really being mindful of that as well. 3, 2, 1. All right, done with that side. We got our opposite side coming up next, and then we're done with that. And we just got our core work, and then we'll cool down. We're ready to rock and roll. 3, 2, 1. Hips back, core tight. Our whole back is nice and flat. We're blinding the ground with our shoulder headlights, keeping that core tight so that we're not rotating. If we do find ourselves rotating in any single arm row movement, that does mean that we might need to drop that weight down a little bit. So making sure we're using a weight where we can have our proper form the whole 45 seconds. Exhaling as we come up. Great job, y'all. Finish strong with this movement here. 3, 2, 1. All right, we are done with those. Check it off the list. We got glute bridge marches. Next, getting those feet planted on the ground. Tuck that pelvis. 3, 2, 1. So pushing those hips up towards the ceiling. Lift one leg up at a time. Our opposite glute is squeezed, and making sure we're keeping that core engaged. So the more we bring our butt towards our belly button, our core kind of pulls that all in. Exhaling as we lift those knees up. acting like we're zipping our core nice and tight. So if we got a zipper here, pull it nice and tight together, and then push that belly button towards our spine. Almost there. Finish strong here. 3, 2, 1. All right, we are done with those. We got one last movement. And then for our cool down, we are going to be laying down on our backs so we can stay in this position here. Getting ready for our deadlifts first though. 3, 2, 1. So hands above those shoulders. Push that belly button into the ground. Exhale as we come back up. Trying to pause for 1 second. Come back in. So we'll work up. I would like us to be able to hold at this bottom position for a few more seconds. We're going to work up to that. Making sure we're pulling with the core, only lifting that leg as low as we can without that low back coming up. If we get to here and our low back is up, that means that that's our stopping limit. 3, 2, 1. And we are done with the circuit. Nice job, everyone. Go ahead, grab a sip of water if you need it. If you don't, we're going to do 2 quick little stretches here. So first thing, we're going to do our bent knee hamstring stretch. So we're going to lay all the way down on the ground. We're going to have one leg straight in front of us. The other leg, we're going to have a nice bend in there. We're going to keep those hands behind that knee. We're going to flex our foot. We're going to squeeze the quad. We're going to lift that foot up towards the ceiling and release. So we're going to do 3 on each side. So squeeze the quad, extend the leg, and release. And one more here. So extend that leg, squeeze the quad, and release. And then go ahead and straighten that leg out. So this is going to help us get our hamstrings from getting too tight after this. Nice active stretch. We want to squeeze that quad to release the hamstrings. We're going to do 3 on the opposite side when we're ready. So flex that foot, squeeze the quad, extend up, and release, and squeeze and extend, and release. And last one, squeeze, extend. And we can go ahead and release and just plant that foot on the ground. So left knee is up, left foot on the ground. We're going to do our figure 4 piriformis stretch to finish out this class. So we're bringing the right ankle above the left knee. If that's a good tension, go ahead and stay there. If you need a little extra, let's interlace those fingers. Grab either behind the knee or in front of the shin and pull towards the chest. So we're going to do 3 breaths here. Opening up those hips. We did a lot of bent over things today, so we're stretching out the back as well here. Let's do one more deep breath. And we can go ahead and gently bring that foot towards the ground. And then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So left ankle over right knee. And if you need more attention, let's interlace those fingers, grab either behind the knee or in front of the shin. Pull that knee towards the chest. And again, 3 breaths here. Breathing into that tightness. Exhaling through the mouth. And let's go and do one more deep breath here. And when we're ready, we can gently bring that foot towards the ground. And you are more than welcome to stay in that laying position, or you can return to seated, kneeling, or standing, but that is going to be all the time I have for today's class. So thank you all so much for joining me. We did, like I said, lots of single leg, single arm things, which is great for balancing out our bodies. We do have lots of classes coming up for the rest of the day. So we got exercise with exos at 12. If you want to join in for workout number 2 with me today. If not, we do have sports performance mindset reset tomorrow morning. So I love doing that to kind of relax the mind and body going into the weekend. And then we still do have our March raffle going on if you're coming into San Rafael. So get your raffle tickets going. But that's all for today. So thank you all again so much for joining me. Great job. And I'll see y'all in hopefully in tomorrow's